Hello, everyone. Happy almost finale. Episode 7 of Ahsoka was awesome, as per usual. Thank you guys for joining us this afternoon once again. I'm flabbergasted that anyone would want to listen to this, and I'm very glad to have you here. I did move my microphone in a different spot, just because I noticed in the recordings that we were having a lot of noise from the fan from my laptop. So I've moved my microphone back here. Hopefully you guys can still hear me. Hello! That's my love, Marshall. So that was the other thing I was going to explain. Normally it's obviously two of us discussing this podcast, but Marshall had to work late tonight. So you get me live before you. And Marshall's in the chat. So he'll still be here, at least in spirit, assuming that things go well at his work and don't get hectic. So we'll still be here to answer your questions, but physically on screen you just have me this evening. Marshall, can you tell me, is the microphone sound good? Just let me know in the chat. So I thought we would start this episode, since we are almost at the finale. We should kind of reflect back a little bit on the series so far, because it's kind of been one of those like blink and it's missing. Okay, good. Not good that you can still hear the fan, but I'm glad it's not super, super loud anymore. I've tried adjusting the gain on my microphone to try to get rid of that, but unfortunately my laptop is old and it doesn't handle these things very well. But hey, we make do. Hello, Angela. Good for you to join us as well. So we're going to start off by reflecting. And feel free to, especially since it's just me up here and Marshall's in the chat, feel free to like send in your questions and your own comments as we go through things as well. Oh no! Well, I moved my art stream to 8 p.m. as well, so we're all gonna be everything will be, well, I think your time is probably 7, but 8 p.m. my time, and stream thankfully has a great schedule option to kind of help us all out with each other's time zones. I know I've watched streamers out in Russia, and you know they'll say it's at this time, and like that means nothing to me. I don't know where you are. Thank you for joining us. So we had a lot of expectations and like a lot of things that we wanted from this series going into it. One of the big things that we really wanted was for Ahsoka's character to be challenged and like have big obstacles to overcome, because we felt like her character had been kind of like we didn't really learn anything new from her being in Tales of the Jedi. It was awesome to see her, but it didn't really like move her character forward or anything. So it's been a while since we've had, and same with Mandalorian too. So it's kind of been a while since we've like seen her change and grow. And I think the series has really delivered on that. I think we've seen things that we know inherently should be bothering her, like her relationship to Anakin and knowing that he becomes Darth Vader, and like seeing how she adapts and overcomes that, as well as exploring themes as a whole as what makes a Jedi post Jedi Order. I thought that both of those things have been explored pretty well in this series. So these short form things, we come from like kind of the television age of like the early 2000s and everything, where shows used to be like 20 something episodes long. And even now, like on Netflix, when we get like Stranger Things releases or even anime releases like Attack on Titan and stuff like that, we typically have like a longer form series. I think that Disney Plus is really unique in doing these like short form things. And there's kind of a lot of things that we also are hoping to see or looking forward to see that there's just not room for in these short form series. But as far as reflecting on those themes, I think they've done a really good job so far. And I wouldn't be surprised if we end the next episode without really addressing the conflict of Thrawn being back. It's kind of hinted at a little bit in this episode, like how real is the threat and everything, but like I certainly don't think it's anything that they're going to address in one more episode. And quite frankly, I think that they would sell it a little short if they did. I think it's going to be a season 2 or a movie type thing, to be honest. But as far as telling a story about Ahsoka, I think we've done a good job of that, especially that episode that we had with her and Anakin, I think it was episode 5, that did a really beautiful job of exploring things that a lot of us wanted to see. And I know also in the very beginning we talked about wanting to see how Ezra has changed or adapted to being alone. And of course now we know he wasn't really alone. He's not home, but he has changed. His time with the Ghost crew has changed him in a really satisfying way. So he was a street boy living on the streets by himself after his parents died. So from age like 7 to 14, he's on his own, and he's kind of learned to live like that, and it's really hard for him to make connections. And then obviously he has his time with the Ghost crew, which is about 4 years. He spends that brief amount of time with them, but the lessons that he learns from his new family, Kanan and Hera and Sabine and Zeb and Chopper too, they really help him open up. And like, I think he had the compassion within him all along, but he was kind of like, his parents, Mira and Ephraim, definitely taught him those things because they were like freedom fighters on Lothal and everything. But being alone had kind of closed him off to that, and so he was opened back up to that. And now we see that like when he's in isolation again, it's totally different from when he was isolated the first time, because he has that open heart and that the lessons imparted on him by Kanan. And so like it's really refreshing, especially what we see in this episode of like, well, he's still making friends and he's still really compassionate and everything, and the isolation has not scarred him in the way that his first time alone did. So I thought that was a really nice thing to explore this episode. And again, one of the things that we were really looking forward to exploring in the series. So that kind of leaves us with like Sabine and Baylan and Shin and all of that, right? I don't know that we really had a lot of expectations. Marshall, feel free to correct me. I don't think we really necessarily had a lot of expectations for how Sabine's arc was going to go in this. But I'm really interested in what they've done with her. From taking us to someone like we know Sabine, like the headshur, artist, tinker, Mandalorian Sabine. But again, how has time away from her family changed her, and especially time away from Ezra? And so it's really satisfying to see them together. And it feels like in some ways that nothing's changed with their banter and everything, but there's kind of like, I feel like Sabine is the more reserved one now. Like before it was Ezra who really had to come out of his shell and address his trauma, but like Ezra addressed those feelings. And now it's Sabine who has that closed inside feeling, and it's Ezra who has to kind of help her out of her shell instead of the reverse when it was originally his family. I don't even think I named Sabine earlier with the Ghost crew. That was messed up. But, they all helped him come out of his shell, and so now we kind of have to return the favor, and also, have her relationship with Ahsoka has been really interesting to explore as well. And so, yeah, I think that's a good kind of summary of where the series has brought us so far. So now we can jump into episode 7 specifically and talk more about this. But hey, we're looking forward to the finale and everything, and I'm really happy with what's going on so far. So let's see. So let's start with kind of Hera's trial, because that's kind of the one thing that doesn't necessarily fit in with the rest of this episode. Since they separated them, I'm very glad that we're still getting the glimpses of Hera and Chopper and everything, but like, that part of the story has felt kind of sidelined. Like we just get little glimpses here and there. I did really like what they did with her and Jason's relationship in this show, and showing her as like a mother. That's been really nice. But as far as like giving us more insight to the New Republic, it's not necessarily showing us anything that we didn't already know from later seasons of The Mandalorian and whatnot. So, I'm glad that they're keeping these glimpses kind of brief, even though it's good to see our friends again. And specifically, this trial really made me laugh because, we have like the shot of Hera, and then like just like the pan of like just Chopper's like little orange dome, like basically from here up behind the desk, was so funny to see in the background. It does bring us a lot of joy to see that kind of thing. And I did lean over to Marshall and be like, this isn't the war crimes that I thought Chopper would be on trial for. But we have Hera being court-martialed. And I really want to talk about how this scene just feels like beef with this one guy. And who even is this one guy? I gotta tell you, I don't remember his name, but I did have somebody in on Tumblr chatting with another friend of mine that's a big fan of Star Wars Resistance. I haven't made around to watching that show yet, and I probably should, but there's a character in it who has a dad who's a New Republic senator, and I'm pretty sure that this guy is that character's dad. So it is a tie-in to another Star Wars animated series, which is, I think, why they're, like, very heavy-handed. Like, why is it just this guy? Like, literally no one else. So, like, obviously Mon Mothma, like, Xeon, thank you, Marshall, for being able to go, Xeono. Yeah, apparently he's the dad of a character in Star Wars Resistance. I don't know if it's the main character's dad. They do look visually similar, but I do know it's a Resistant character's dad. And that's kind of, like, it seems like no one else, like, cares that Hera did this. Like, Mon Mothma's clearly like, okay, well, you weren't supposed to, but you did it. Good job. But, like, no one else is saying anything. They're just kind of like, there's the Celestin, there's another Mon Calamari, and there's more in the background, which this series loves Mon Calamari, man. They are, if we're the number one Marek posthumous fan club show, the actual show itself is the Admiral Akbar and Friends number one fan club show. I don't know. They're just everywhere in this. But it's delightful. I love, like, the little blinking motion. But again, he's just kind of standing there, like, reacting. Same with the Celestians. So, like, there's not even, like, really this discussion. It's just this one guy does not like that you did this. Yeah, exactly. So there's a comment in the chat about how the New Republic stuff feels like it's just there or sidelined, and it's not really clear the relevance to that. And I think the relevance kind of comes in at the end of the scene, or at least, like, how they're justifying the scene being here in Mon Mothma. And we get a C-3PO cameo and a Leia Organa name drop, which is, of course, wonderful to have. I mean, I'd be like, you know, I know people joke about Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau wanting to like, put every single character that could possibly be in a scene together. But that said, when they open the door and you see, like, C-3PO, like Anthony Daniels doing his C-3PO thing, my goodness, you don't need to see my credentials. I am C-3PO. Like, obviously that brings us joy as Star Wars fans, so, like, I'm not going to complain too much about that. But aside from that, I think that the whole gist of the scene was just to have that scene with Mon Mothma and Hera at the end, where she's like, well, how serious, like, how real is this threat actually? Please tell me. And you know, Hera just being like, well, we need to prepare for the worst, which was kind of like the most lukewarm way to say it. And to be honest, I was just watching this extra in the background. I don't know if Hera was, like, blocking somebody else, but there's just an extra who's, like, standing right by her head having a conversation with himself. Like, he's just like he's just, like, talking, like he's talking to someone, but you can't see them. So, like, there's just an extra in the background. Like, I challenge you to watch this scene again and not let that distract you, because that was, like, all I could see was just this guy having a conversation with himself in the background. But yeah, I think that little bit at the end was basically all that was about, or just to, like, say, like, the New Republic punishes you for being a rebel, which feels like kind of a weird point to make. Anyways, let's go on to the rest of this. Yeah, for sure. Keep an eye for it, because it's, like, at that last scene. Mon Mothma's outfit too was totally beautiful, by the way. So, you know, if it was just a chance for the Andor, like, costume designers to flex, I'm not going to complain too much about that. She looked like a beautiful, like, nun in a blue habit of some kind, ethereal, wonderful. And Hera got to wear a new outfit too with new tight-fitting pants, so that was all good. All right. So now we can move on to Ahsoka. She has this, like, really poignant. That's what the name of the show, right? We should talk about Ahsoka. She has this really like nice training scene with like a hollow of Anakin. And it's kind of just reinforcing that point from episode 5, right? Where it's like, okay, like now she's had a chance to process this and she can like, you know, we've seen her in Rebels, like watching the Anakin videos, but it felt heavier and more troubled. And this really didn't, even though she's kind of like making like aggressive faces as she's like moving through the forms and everything. Like you can tell that there's kind of just a peacefulness to her, like an accepting. And when she says like Anakin, like he was a good teacher, like she's clearly acknowledged her feelings and now she's moving past them, which is a totally Jedi thing to do for someone who's not a Jedi, to be practicing Jedi forms, watching her master's hollow projections. And like, I think that like, Huyang is always like, every scene that he's in, he just shines in, and I'm really glad that they put him in the series and had David Tennant voicing him again and having all those like practical effects. Like he's a really, really lovable droid and a wonderful puppet and like really, really cool to watch. And like the way he's able to express with like his lower lids coming up and everything like that is just truly wonderfully done. And her and him like have like a way more lighthearted, like when she's like joking with him about the odds of the whales bringing them exactly where they're supposed to be, which is of course I'm sure something that, you know, we chalk it up to like Force mysticism or whatnot, but it is of course like statistically unlikely, and I'm sure that there's forums online being like, oh, well, why would the Purrgil be going to the same spot? But like, you know, it's fine. I don't really care about that kind of thing. It's Star Wars, man. It's Force magic. Yeah. It doesn't feel that gratuitous in this, to be honest. But yeah, she's joking with Huyang about it, and he like doesn't understand that she's joking until he looks over, and she's just smiling. Which, of course, the first 2 episodes of this series, we were like, Jesus, why is Ahsoka so somber? But like now, like she's not anymore. So like, you know, it kind of makes sense more now why they put that in those earlier episodes to kind of like better showcase the change that we have now. The one thing that I think that the show hasn't really put a lot of time into, we just had one line about Sabine's family dying. And so it feels kind of like weirdly out of place. Like we know in the beginning that she and Ahsoka are having like this, like they have a disconnect that's like obviously very severe, but we kind of like don't think about it for a couple more episodes, and then like we get like one line that Sabine's family has been killed, and because she wasn't there for them because she was training with Ahsoka, and it feels like it's, I don't know, that just kind of was just like a one line thing. Like I feel like maybe we could have hinted that more in the beginning. That way it feels like more of a payoff when they're like getting back together. I don't know, that thing in particular is like, and like I don't think she's told Ezra yet either, based on their conversation. Like, you know, when she's talking about it's complicated and whatnot, like I feel like that would probably explain a lot about why she did what she did. Like, hey Ezra, my whole family died, so now I really feel like what you felt when we were going through when, you know, the whole, oh, you thought your parents were dead and then they were captured in an Imperial prison, but then they died helping everyone else escape. Yeah, they did. Marshall just pointed out, like, yeah, they yada 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 over the death of Sabine's family, which is really a lot. But we have this scene, and it's good, and then the Purrgils are dropping out of hyperspace, and I really, really thought, like, I was, like, emotionally devastated, because I thought they were going to kill these whales in front of us, and Marshall actually had a comment, too. I really should be, he gave me some talking points to address in this. Oh, goody, my stylus is acting up. Okay. The pause. We got it here. Yeah, he thought that they would get trapped in a whale corpse. Like the whale was going to drop out of space and they were like instantly going to laser it and then it was going to die. But then it was like even more like drawn out. Like we get to like see the whales going through this minefield. I'm like, this is going to like I was like already preparing to cry. Like I could feel like the hollow feeling in like a tight feeling in my throat. Like I was ready to cry if they killed these beautiful animals in front of me. Like I was like, please don't. Like we've talked about on the show before how like moving all of the moments with the Purrgil have been, and like how like there's like this deep connection between us and these animals, just like Ezra's connection with the animals and like the living forest and everything. They're like, they've really fostered this like these beautiful moments that give you chills with these animals. And now they're like going through a minefield and like clearly in pain. I'm like, oh my God, are we going to have to watch the whales get blown up? Oh my God. But they didn't do that, thankfully. It was still upsetting. It was definitely upsetting, but I did not like, I feel like if one single whale would have ate it, I would have cried. Like, I just would have started bawling. Like, there's no way I would have made it through that. So I'm glad they did not kill the whales in front of us, even though that it seems like they're very good at killing the whales. I don't know how many times they've done this particular. Yeah, it is a miracle they all survived. It's a miracle if they didn't want to upset us that badly, I guess. So like they just have them like move into like the graveyard or whatever. So it's like clearly they've killed a bunch of these whales before, but like we don't have to see it. So thank you for not making me watch a whale die. I would have cried. But yeah. Yeah, I backtracked in my notes and kind of the Anakin stuff, but and Marshall too has also said that. Oh, we'll get to that in the end. Blah, blah, blah. This is an unedited podcast, everyone. Okay, so speaking of the minefields, we have a lot of new technology in this. These are obviously like Imperial mines, so like this, I guess, came from the Chimera or whatnot. But we have like the Night Sisters with their orbs. We have like whatever their version of holo projection is, where we have like Captain Enoch, like there's like all these particles that like come together to make Captain Enoch's image, and like clearly they can like they have like sensors of some kind because they're able to like get the troopers to come back in, like to retreat, and they can watch like an aerial view of a battlefield. So like the technology, like while a little different, it feels kind of almost too similar to what we have in our current galaxy. Now, I don't know if maybe that's like, oh, well, like Thrawn brought the technology to the Night Sisters and the Night Sisters made it work again. But like, it feels almost too familiar to what we have before for like a different planet. It's like, well, something's clearly a little bit strange because we don't have floating orbs. Well, we kind of do have floating orbs. Not like this kind of, not like a metal like Zepho orb though in our galaxy. Like ours are like, you know, like droids that fly or whatnot, and like our holo projections are like these blue flickering things. And this is obviously a little bit more sophisticated than that. But like, yeah, I've seen some people talking about this online too. That like this almost feels like too familiar to our galaxy for it to be like totally new technology and everything. Like. I would guess that, like, if I had to, like, justify it, I'd be like, oh, it was, like, someone brought the technology off of the Chimera and they, like, basically, like, fixed it to make it work in this new galaxy. It does feel reskinned, very much so. But, you know, one piece of technology or database that we know they have, and I have to mention this because you all know who I am, but they said they got Ahsoka's information from the Inquisitorial database. Yeah. Yeah, let's put Inquisitors into things. Yeah. Even if it makes no sense for them to be there. This actually makes a little bit of sense, though. And it is interesting, too, because, again, this is a series about exploring what it means to be a Jedi post or whatever. Obviously, in the old world, the Jedi were like kind of the collectors and holders of the knowledge, right? Like we had the Jedi archives and everything like that, and so that was where you went for knowledge about the galaxy. Like, you know, we need to find this planet. Well, let's go into the Jedi archives. Oh, well, if it's not in the Jedi archives, then it must not exist. Thank you, Jocasta knew. So in a way, it's jarring, but it's like. The Inquisitors, who were themselves Jedi, turned on the Jedi Order and rejected it, but still their database is the one that everyone is going to for this information. It's like sad, it's perverse, that the Jedi knowledge is now gatekept by the ones who betrayed the Order, but it's like, it's such a delicious irony too. It's like, oh, you think you're not a Jedi. Oh, you reject the Jedi Order, you want to kill all of the Jedi. But you're doing the thing that they did You're collecting all of the knowledge, but you're just keeping it for yourself. And I think that's really the big difference, right? Is that the Jedi Order, like those archives, assuming that you weren't looking for like information on the Sith, like they were pretty open about sharing that knowledge. Whereas the Inquisitorial database, I have a feeling that only like really high-ranking Imperial officials can get to it, and Thrawn, being a Grand Admiral, has access to it. But and that's a good question too. Do they have like a oh no, I guess Morgan would have like the most recent version of it. I was like, how do they have that? But Morgan probably has it. But yeah, I think it's like it's very like sick. It's twisted, but we're we like exploring the sick and twisted here on the #1 Mark posthumous Inquisitor fan club version of the show. So it was a throwaway line, but it was one that we were like, oh, they said Inquisitor. So yeah, we had to get that out of the way. The thing that intrigues me the most about this scene, though, is Thrawn has a very interesting relationship to the Reverend Night Mothers, the Night Sisters in general. He asks them for their help, and they just give it. And clearly these caskets, like the stuff that they're moving that looks clearly like caskets, must be like of great importance. The fact that they're not just like up and leaving, right? That they're like the whole Thrawn's entire strategy hinges on just buying enough time to move this material onto the Chimera. So clearly there is something about their deal. I can't really quite put my finger on it yet, and I think that there's like hints there. Which is good writing to give like the hints, but I haven't quite like puzzled it out yet, and I'll be interested to see what the reveal was. I mean, my guess is that those caskets are like fallen Night Sisters, and they're bringing them to the new galaxy. Yeah, very Bene Gesserit vibes. We love doing here. There's something very odd going on, like the fact that they will just like, I need you to do me a favor, and they're just like, yes, and they just do it. There must be something like very, very significant about what they're moving off-world for the Night Sisters, because like that's the only reason I can think of that they have to cooperate with Thrawn, is they want like their source of power moved to a new galaxy. We don't know what they're fleeing, if they're fleeing anything. So like there's still some like questions there, but it's a very interesting dynamic that's kind of like we just get a little glimpse here, and it also might explain like more like Morgan is like billed as like a Thrawn ally and everything, but it seems like her tie is more close to the Night Sisters, and they were the ones sending her messages like, oh, Thrawn's calling to me throughout the galaxy. Well, it was actually like the Night Mothers, right? Like talking to her. So like there's still a lot here. For sure. Let's see. Yes, and Marshall says that the Night Sister orbs make him think of dowsing rods and pendulums, which seems very appropriate for witches, of course. Like a technological magic. I think that's a good touch. All right. So next, I wanted to talk about our other there are so many different motives and everything going on here, and it feels like kind of they're sort of starting to come together now, especially in Balin's absence in the fight, and like that Thrawn was like clearly like banking on Balin being there, but like Balin clearly has his own motives for being here, and I thought his parting words with Shin were very interesting. That like it almost feels like he's tired of her ambition, or if this is just a very like hard lesson, basically. It's very like his saying of like, oh well, like your ambition is taking you down this path, and I'm going down a different path. And his last like word of advice is like, well, your impatience for victory will surely lead to defeat, which of course is like a very good. That's what Thrawn's all about, and everything too is like, okay, well, sometimes it actually makes more sense to retreat and not just like continue to hammer trying to get a victory, which is of course the thing that Morgan is trying to get him to do, right? She's constantly trying to be like, well, send the ships, and there's a very imperial answer, and Thrawn's getting a chance to like really show himself as a tactician, which is good because I feel like probably a lot of people, like the general Star Wars fan, is not super familiar with Grand Admiral Thrawn. They're probably haven't read the books and haven't watched Rebels, so I feel like this is a really good like if we had to condense Thrawn down so that you could completely understand his character in about 10 minutes. Like obviously he can't get into the ascendancy stuff because that would be weird for him to explain on the show, but if we just had to like boil him down for like something like 10 minutes of screen time, what is Thrawn like? I feel like they're doing a pretty good job of like explaining like, oh yeah, he's a master tactician. He doesn't do things the traditional Imperial way. So Baylan, in a sense, these words kind of feel like similar to Thrawn's thoughts. It's very interesting to me that Thrawn did not question his motives earlier on, and maybe he did, but there's no like on-screen confirmation of like, well, I didn't expect him to show. He does say like, we're down one mercenary, so like he clearly notices it right away, but he hasn't expressed that he knew in advance what Baylan was up to. And we don't even know what Baylan's up to. Obviously, he has this very cool fight with Ahsoka, but in the end, when she runs up, like, obviously he's buying time, which is what Thrawn wanted in the first place. So it's weird that their goals seem to align, and maybe that's why he's here. Yeah, Lars Mikkelsen is absolutely killing it. Maybe that's why he's made it this far, is because his motives do seem to align with Thrawn at first blush, and then when you dig a little deeper, there's clearly something more going on with him. So like he is trying to buy more time. Maybe it's more time for Shin. Maybe it's more time for them to move the bodies out and better get their goal. He seems like almost kind of neutral to what else is going on. He's not interested in fighting Ezra. He has this very interesting fight with Ahsoka just to buy more time, but he seems like very defeated when she runs away. And I can't quite put my finger on why that is yet. Like, what is Baylan's game plan in all of this? Because he, like, it seems like almost that he wanted to talk Ahsoka into staying, almost. Like, I just can't quite wrap my head around why he's so like dour when she leaves. Like and the camera spends a very long time like on him, like kind of like frowning and like looking down, and it's like, it's not that he was like defeated, like he wasn't like shamed in combat or anything, but I mean, she runs away with his howler, but I don't think he's that upset about losing the wolf thing. So man, I don't know how much more like we'll get to explore, but like his character is just so interesting. I want to know more. Stop giving us baddies that we get a super cool baddie and we get like a tiny glimpse into what they might be doing, and then we never see them again for another 7 years or whatever. So and I understand if they can't explore more of Baylan's story, because we've talked about this before, but because of the loss of the actor and everything, but man, he killed it. He did such a good job. We all are just begging to know more about his character. I mean, it's unusual that a character is like pretty universally liked across the board for Star Wars fans, and his character is it. Same with, well, I know a lot of people who dislike Thrawn, but we're not getting into that. Way more people like Thrawn than dislike Thrawn. So, okay. I guess now it's time to move. Yeah, he sees something in Ahsoka that ties into his desire to get power from this new galaxy. I think that's it too, and maybe it's also kind of reminding him of his reflections of his own relationship to the Jedi Order too. Might be part of it as well. But yeah, we still don't know like what this desire to get power, like where is this rooted in? It's not political power. Yeah, exactly. I hope they don't kill him all. We don't know what they had planned for him in the next episode, but I hope that it's that it pays off. And if not, then if they can continue his story in like a video game or a comic book or something. Yeah, for him to Angela makes a good point. I want for him to like disappear and then leave us wondering. I think that would be a good way to handle it, is just leave it open-ended for different storytellers like authors or comic book artists or something to kind of fill in the rest of the blanks. So now we can kind of address a little bit more Ezra and Sabine and these crab people, which Marshall so kindly for me looked up what they were called earlier. Today was a very heavy day at my work, so I did not have a lot of time to do research. The Noti. They are also very cute. I love the baby waving at Ezra, like trying to get his attention, and a very baby thing to do. Like, it's like battling and like waving at him. Very, very cute. These and when he holds the other, like the adult one, I guess, or adolescent, when he holds his hand and everything, it's like everything about this was wonderful. The callback to Ezra's slingshot, I thought was such a brilliant moment. Because of course, us Rebel fans, we remember old season 1 little itty bitty Ezra with his slingshot, like firing shots at the Grand Inquisitor, like, and it just feels like that. It's like these like little crabs who like can't help, like, there's no way that they're gonna beat these like bounty hunters with slingshots, but like they're a peaceful people and it's worked for them. And of course, these are the people that Ezra attaches himself to, right? And they're like they shield themselves in, just like they do with their rock hides, and they're throwing pots and pans and like trying to like strategically like smash the bandit stuff in between their pods and everything. It feels very wonderful. Also, Ezra not wanting to use the lightsaber is, I think, very fun too. Like the Force is all I need. I have seen so much. Yeah, it was just as effective here as little baby. Stop, little baby. Don't pick on little baby Ezra. He was being brave. I mean, look at this guy. Look at this guy. You want to fight him with a slingshot? Okay. Yes, my husband pointed out that the slingshot was just as effective against the bandits as it was for Ezra with the Grand Inquisitor. But this actor is like, I think all of the acting talent in the show like really pays off, and in particular, I've seen a lot of praise for the actor for Ezra Bridger. And I have to agree, this feels so Ezra, like when Shin has them like all cornered, and he's like, whoa, wait, wouldn't you rather take us as prisoners? We can talk. It just feels so Ezra. When Sabine, when Sabine is like, oh, Ahsoka took me on as her apprentice, and he's like, what? Why? Oh, that was so good. Because, of course, that's a question that everyone's been asking. We've had it in our chat before, too, of, like, why are we having Ahsoka be trained, or Sabine be trained by Ahsoka when she's not Force sensitive? So, like, it feels great to have that addressed very lightheartedly by Ezra, and being like, so, like, we can't talk about this. What about this? So we can't talk about this, but don't you think it's kind of important that we talk about this? Like, I'd really like to go home, actually. Oh, gosh, he makes me smile. He makes me laugh. Thank you. Marshall, is there any... Yeah, he does nail the vibe of Rebels Ezra. Is there any way you could bring up his name so that I can actually say the actor's name? I'm mostly terrible with these kinds of things. Actually, we were playing Heads Up the other night, and... someone came up on on Marshall's screen, and he was like, I was just like, I don't know this person, you have to skip it. And then he looked up later and he's like, this is the actress who plays Hera in the live action show. I was like, that's just how disconnected I am from all of this, is that like Hera's Vanessa Marshall to me. I don't know. I'm not ready. My brain is not ready to assimilate new knowledge of different people playing the same character. But his actor, he looks like Ezra. He looks like Ephraim Bridger. He looks like Ezra's father, which is enough to drive a little stake through my heart that he looks so much like his father, who's obviously a very good person and made a big impact on Ezra's life. But unfortunately, we never got to see him, right? Amon Esfandi. Thank you, Marshall. He's killing it. He's doing such a great job, which is just something that we just keep saying, but it's true. And this fight with using just the Force, it actually, to me, it kind of reminded me of The Last Airbender, like Avatar: The Last Airbender, because it is like he's bending, right? And like almost like the pacing of the action, like the pacing of his pushes and everything, to me, it looks like Ezra's been kind of like he's clearly very in tune with the Force, but he's almost like out of practice when it comes to the combat stuff, right? Because it's like it's such near misses for him over and over and over again. Like he's clearly like using it, and like we did have some questions about how the Force would work in this galaxy. Like we were thinking, like, oh well, maybe that's why Balin's so interested. Is like it maybe doesn't work the same way. Maybe it makes you like maybe it enhances things, or maybe it makes things weaker. Like we don't know. Like what if we went to this galaxy and the Force just like straight up did not work, man? And like all of the Force users had to be like on the same, like they just had to rely on like the actual like skill level stuff and not their intuition. That would have been like, but that's not how it happened. But it does seem like every like dodge and everything that he does is so near miss. Like he gets his like hair singed, right? And like she swings the lightsaber. Yeah, exactly. He almost got his head chopped off. She swings the lightsaber at Sabine, and he like catches it with his hand. And we got that like super cool Foley, like that really cool sound effect when he like stops it with the Force in his hands. But it's like it's only like a couple of inches away from his hands. Obviously, that requires a lot of power to do. Like he's clearly been practicing, but I don't think that he's super practiced in combat because he's just like kind of like. It feels like he's throwing people away, but he's only like 3 feet from him when he does it. I don't know if that's an intentional choice or like a, just like a stunt person, like CGI kind of choice. But I didn't notice it when we had like Ahsoka and Shin and everybody fighting. Like it felt like they were definitely like pushing people away from the normal distance. So I wonder if that's like an intentional choice. It was something that I picked up on, and maybe some of y'all did too. Again, I thought once again that they were going to kill one of the Noti, one of the crab people. Like they kept like coming back out like in the middle of these fights, and we see like that. I thought it was so cute how they had that Sabine's howler inside with the little Noti. Like obviously he's past wanting to eat them, right? But like they're like trapped in the ship together, and we're like, oh no, that little Noti's in there with that thing that wants to eat him so bad. But like they poke open the window, and like again he's got the puppy dog expressions, and his eyes are so big and everything, and we have him and the Noti keep popping out and everything, and I'm like, oh my god, are they gonna kill like these really cute creatures that I've become attached to so quickly? Are they just gonna kill one of them? Like especially when the one gets like left behind. But thankfully they didn't. They just put them in peril. Oh gosh, like I can't handle this. This episode is so full of levity, strangely. Like I don't want one of them to fall. Yeah, the saber was bending from the Force. I thought that was like really, really sick, that moment. Yes, and we also nice noises, everyone, I know. It's fall, y'all. There's a lot of pollen. It's important to stay hydrated, and also my nose is super stuffy. But I always sound like this, so it's fine. Yes, we had a theory about the troopers being like reanimated with Night Sister magic because they were all like they had all the cracked armor. Marshall says when they didn't kill a Purgo on screen, I knew the crab people would be okay. Yeah, fair enough. If they're not going to kill if they're not going to kill the whales, which are non-sentient, then they're probably not going to kill the sentient. Is someone going to die next episode, guys? If you think a character is now, it's an ASMR of me hawking a loogie. Awesome, perfect. If you think a character is going to die in the next episode or not, just put your predictions in the chat. Like I really want to know if any of you think that anyone's going to eat it after most people have escaped peril this entire series. Like, is someone gonna die, and who is it going to be? Go ahead and put your predictions in the chat because we've kept everyone pretty safe so far. Sabine got stabbed, but she was okay because apparently lightsaber blows to the stomach are not as fatal as we think they are. Case in point, revenge does wonders for the will to live. Sabine has so much revenge in her heart. I don't know. But yeah, we have these troopers that are all like they've got the cracked armor and the ribbons and everything. We thought they were going to be reanimated, but clearly they die like flesh and blood people, and they like almost Wilhelm scream when they get blasted and fall backwards and everything. Sabine's aim is truly terrible in this episode, which I thought was super funny. It's like, oh, she's a Mandalorian. She's so good with weapons and everything. It's like, come on, girl. You haven't been practicing with your blaster. You haven't been practicing with your saber. Come on. Make a bomb or something. I don't know if I can say that on Twitch. Come on, Sabine. Show off your, wasn't she like the original, like the Rebel shorts, like, about her explosive, like artistic explosions and everything? Like, come on. We need at least one good Sabine artistic explosion before this series is out. All right. That's what I'm asking for. Okay. So, yeah, they seem to be just regular troopers, but they have Night Sister ribbons on them for some reason. Maybe, this is naughty. All right, so we've got some predictions coming in the chat. There's a theory about them killing Ahsoka off, but after episode 4, I doubt it. Yeah, I kind of think that there's rumors that there's going to be like a movie called Heir to the Empire. I think they're probably going to keep Ahsoka around for that. Marshall says Morgan Elsbeth probably gonna biff it. Yeah, I think that that's a fair prediction. She would be the one that, like, if I would be like, oh yeah, who could die, they would not like it would have an impact on the plot. Like, it could drive the plot forward, but it wouldn't have like a, like, oh, we're not gonna, like, we're cutting off a character's arc too soon. It would probably be her. If they kill someone, so Angela's suggesting either Sabine or Ezra, if they do. And if they do, maybe Shin might join them, and maybe she'll have a redemption death arc. Also fair enough. I don't know if we've explored Shin enough to, like, have, like, a really good payoff redemption. Not saying that they won't do it, because, you know, they might, but, like, I don't know if we know her well enough to, like, do that just yet. Like, there's still more of her character to be explored. I certainly hope that they would not take 6 episodes to show us Ezra Bridger again, just to kill him off 2 episodes later. Not saying that they wouldn't do that, but, like, I would certainly hope that they would be they would exercise a little bit more restraint from that. But Sabine, I think, might actually be in mortal peril. I don't know. Sabine, of all of the protagonists, I think that she is probably the one in the most danger. Yeah. Yeah, so Marshall brings up a point about the end of Raiders of the Lost Ark, obviously the Indiana Jones movie, that the antagonist there, again, I don't know what I can say on Twitch, you know, the German antagonists are messing with powers that they don't really understand, and Morgan Elsbeth might be like that as well. So yeah, those were your death predictions. So my naughty joke about the troopers with the red ribbons would be that those are the ones that the knights, like, you know how they have the big, like, thing on Dathomir with the Zabroks, and the Zabroks are the, like, they pick the Zabroks that they want to breed with, and then they like mate with them or whatever, and that's how they procreate. What if those troopers with the ribbons are like, that's the chosen one? But there's an awful lot of them, and we've only seen 3 Night Sisters, so, well, plus Morgan, but, like, I don't think so. But if so, I mean, hey, get it, girls. Get it, Reverend Night Mothers. Yeah, it's a strange choice going on there with, like, the way that their armor is repaired and patched and everything. German antagonists. I'm so sorry. I don't know what I am, and I'm not allowed to say on here. This isn't Tumblr where you can just say whatever you want, okay? So, let's go back up. Yeah, will the season end with anyone actually on the other side of the galaxy, or will that be the cliffhanger? I hope that they pop back in, at least. Like, I hope that they make it, but it's probably, like, the last, like, shot. Which I still think will be ending on a cliffhanger, but I definitely think that the last episode is going to be, like, that mad dash. We've already set up this episode of, like, it's all about time, right? It's like there's only a limited amount of time to stop them at this point, and it does seem kind of insurmountable that 3 or 4 individuals, we can't count out Hu Yang yet. Oh my god, what if Hu Yang's the one that dies? Guys, 25,000 years as a Jedi, what if he's the one who eats it? That would be so upsetting. All of these characters would be upsetting, except for I think Morgan Elsbeth. We've all decided I think that we're okay with her being the one to get knocked off the show. But what if it's guys? New fear on like I think you guys could probably see it in my eyes the second that the thought occurred to me. Is like, oh my god, New fear unlocked. Um, we have 4 protagonists trying to stop Thrawn's return. I do think that, like, I'm not sure. Yeah, you hate that. I am not sure. I don't know what you're referring to when you say that you hate that. There's like a delay, so you could be talking about something that I talked about like 7 minutes ago. I don't know, but thanks, Marshall, for hating that. You better be saying that you hate the idea that Hu Yang might die. I don't know. I do think it would be strange for them to be like, Thrawn might return, even as far back as like Mandalorian season 3, and for Thrawn to not return, right? Because like if our protagonists are successful, then Thrawn will not return. But we've been building to Thrawn returning back for such a while that I feel like it would be very strange for him not to at this point. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, it could have been about the Night Sisters, or it could have been about Hu Yang, but I'm glad that you feel the same way about Hu Yang. We're all upset about that. So, don't do it. Even though you've already surely written and edited this episode and it's all set in stone, I like to think that I have the power to influence it even afterwards with my brain. But we all know if I did, then Mark would still be alive. So, yeah. I think that they're probably going to make it back home and have to deal with the consequences of that somehow. I can't see them not, like, I feel like it's going to be very close, right? Like, I hope that the next episode is paced in such a way to keep us on the edge of our seat, like, the whole time, basically. Like counting down to the minutes and everything of, like, are they going to make it? Are they going to make it? Are they going to make it? And, like, oh, man, it would be so cool if, like, all the protagonists, like, end up on the, like, if we're all in the Chimera. I am a huge sucker for, like, kind of a survival horror genre thing where they're, like, and Star Wars does a great job of this, where, like, everyone's on the ship together and, like, we're wearing disguises. Please have there be a gratuitous, like, you know how Ezra used to collect, like, all of the helmets for all the different Imperials and everything? I want him to get one of those, like, weird new helmets, like Captain Enoch's helmet or something, and be like, what the hell is this? They've really changed over the years. Like, I really want to have a gratuitous scene of Ezra selecting his new helmet for his collection back home. And it would be great if he could make it all the way back home and, like, put it on the shelf in his radio tower. That would be awesome. But I think that's probably too much to hope for the next episode. But I really want them to be, like, wearing disguises, sneaking around the ship, trying to stop them, but they can't quite stop them in time. And boom, we all go back to our galaxy far, far away. That would be, like, a perfect finale for me. We don't even have to, like, we've had, like, really cool fights throughout. So I don't even know that I need to have like another big fight. Although obviously, I mean, I think it's a finale. We're gonna get one, right? Like, there's no way there's not some cool action shots here. But or more Night Sister magic. Night Sister magic fight would kind of shake things up a little bit, and I think that would be really cool. But yeah, I don't know, guys. What do you think? What do you think would be the perfect ending for this? Feel free to say in the chat. I think that would be a good way to go. And the one thing that I didn't address in that was Shin and Baylan, of course, because I think that their story doesn't necessarily fit now. Like, I think that their story has diversion of, especially with Shin running away from like Ahsoka, like, volunteering, like, hey, join us, like, we can help you, and she's running away from that, like, she's not ready yet. I don't know that they're gonna address Shin and Balin in the next episode. I would guess. Um, okay, you tagged me in a post about how my I didn't get that actually. Interestingly, I have heard that Tumblr has been messing up tags. So like, feel free to like message it to me directly because I did not get that just yet. So definitely send that to me because I'm interested to know how you think it might end. I think that Shin might be a stowaway above the ship. I do think that her and Balin have like he gave her his final lesson, and I think he's going to stay on Peridia, Peridia, or Peridia, whatever. I think that she's probably going to be a stowaway above the ship because I don't think that she's really given up on the idea of Imperial power just yet, even though she had that kind of like loss and whatever. I think she's still confused. I think there's enough like about her intrigue about the Jedi. Like, you know, a couple episodes back they had that conversation, right, where she was like clearly curious about the Jedi, and she was relating Ezra to her, right? Like, oh, so he's like me because he was too young, like he wasn't in the Jedi of old, like he was trained later. I think he called him a Boken Jedi or whatever. And so like she's clearly like curious enough about this concept. So I think that it's possible that she stows away above the ship because she's interested enough. Like she's still intrigued by the Imperial aspect out of it, but she's also like drawn more to the traditional like Jedi Sith training dynamic, and Balin has moved on to something else. Boken Jedi. Okay, got it. Marshall says he wants it to be open ends left for wherever, for whatever and wherever Shin and Balin are. I think that is a good point. Oh, what's new to you, Marshall? The Boken Jedi concept. That is what at first I thought he said Bogan Jedi, which of course like Bogan is a like an Australian word for like, you know, what we call like redneck or hick here in the US. So like I thought he called them like Bogan Jedi, like Ezra's a hick Jedi, like he's a redneck Jedi, which it does oddly feel appropriate, doesn't it? Like, doesn't Ezra feel like kind of the redneck version of a Jedi? He's in his like, and I say this like we're from Alabama, so like please know that I say this with all the love in my heart. Like we're kind of rednecks here ourselves. Look at the color of my neck. Okay, Bogan Jedi is the concept that was new to Marshall. Yeah, I thought he called them Bogan Jedi. So I do think it's funny that Ezra's like in like living out in the woods or whatever in these like mobile homes with these crab people, and it's just like us here in the South living in our swamps with our alligator friends. I'm kidding. Guys, again, I truly I love where I'm from, and I say all those things like hellbilly and hick and redneck with all the respect in my heart because I kind of am one myself. So love y'all. Okay, so that I believe basically wraps things up for us. I am very, very excited for the next episode next week. Marshall will be back with us. Like I said, it's just temporary that he was working late tonight, but I'm so glad he could join us in the chat and be with us here in spirit. As I said earlier, I moved my drawing stream. On the last drawing stream that I kind of asked if it would be better for anyone if I moved it back to the same time as we do this show. And so a couple of people said yes, that it would be better if it was an hour later. So I moved that stream to start at 8. And it's better for us too, because I was kind of having to come home from work and like quickly walk the dog and eat and everything and like jump on the stream before I was like fully unwound from work yet. So, yeah, that will be an hour later, but it will still be tomorrow. I think I'm probably going to be working on my Stormtrooper piece that is from a fan film that we could talk about off air. But yeah, I'll probably be working on that illustration. But there's a chance that I might pick up something else. It's a lot of little details, and I don't know how exciting that will be to watch me. Like, I have like 3 screens up with stormtrooper bits, and I've got like model stormtroopers with me, so I can like see their armor from all different angles. I don't know how exciting that would be to watch. So I'm open to doing something else. I do kind of think I would love to do a Balin drawing before the show is over, or maybe after the finale next week. I think that would be a good time. But like, I think the silhouettes of his armor and everything are really cool, and he's really stoic, and I think that would be something I would be interested in doing as well. So you'll see if you tune in tomorrow what we'll be working on. In the meantime, we do have a YouTube channel where we post these after they're done being recorded, so you can watch them if you miss any part of it, or if you're a day late watching the finale. I forgot actually that the stormtroopers actually Kanan. I've had Kanan in my hand this entire time. Thank you. I appreciate your dedication, and feel free to follow me on Twitch too. I know you probably do, but anybody who is watching this and is interested, I do invite you to follow my Twitch channel. That way you'll get notifications. You can turn notifications on, like especially for like specific streams. Like if you're only interested in these, or if you're only interested in the art streams, you can turn on notifications or alerts so that you like just get alerted when I'm about to do an art stream or this or whatever. And you can get like an email notification when I go live, basically. So feel free to follow me on here if this is what you like. We also have a YouTube channel. I am personally on Inquisitorius-sin-bin.tumblr.com. That's probably my main social media channel, but I also changed my Instagram to Inquisitorius-sin-bin as well to make it easier for y'all to find me. And I do post like my artwork and stuff like that on there as well. So yeah, we only have one more episode of this show together, y'all, and it's been really fun talking through it. So I can't say that there's a chance that we might do this again for the next, whatever the next Star Wars thing to come out might be, whether that be a movie or a TV show. I know pretty much everything's been pushed back, but hey, the Writers Guild, as of like 2 days ago, they have a tentative agreement, so maybe we'll be getting stuff. I mean, the actors are still on strike, so I hope that their contract, they get as good of a deal, but it seems like a really a good thing for them that they've worked out. So hopefully the actors can get that good of a deal too. And that I know that this has been like over half a year now, so that's great for all of our writer and actor people who make these wonderful things for us to enjoy. That's great for them. Yeah. So maybe we'll see you again after the next episode for the Acolyte. That would be rad. Anyways, y'all, this was lots of fun. Feel free to reach out, and we'll see you next time for the finale. We'll see how much of our predictions were right. Anyway, night, y'all. Have a good evening. See you next time. Bye.